This is Father Nicholas Grace, missionary priest in the Republic of Ireland, reading to you today from Luke's Gospel, chapter 21, verses 1 through to 4, this Monday, the 27th of November. The Gospel says, "When Jesus looked up, he saw some wealthy people putting their offerings into the treasury, and he noticed a poor widow putting in 2 small coins. He said, 'I tell you truly, this poor widow put in more than all the rest, for those others have all made offerings from their surplus wealth, but she, from her poverty, has offered her whole livelihood.'" The Gospel of the Lord. Dear friends, in this occasion of tremendous generosity proceeding from a pure and perfect heart, the heart of this widow, I would like to share some thoughts with you, principally from a 19th century priest, convert, writer by the name of Father Faber. Some thoughts on generosity. He says, "The spirit of generosity may be looked at in 2 ways. One, as it exists in our own hearts, and 2, as it actually inspires our conduct. Its victory over our external actions is a work of time and combat, a work which will never be achieved unless we see further than the theory, unless we see clearly what it is to be generous with God, and are steadfast and determined to be so. This is what is necessary for generosity to actuate our external conduct." How does this theory become practice? This is a question that most people have. The answer is threefold, a threefold theory on generosity to make a theory a practice. Number 1, when we never have any reserves with God, set no definable bounds either to our love of Him or sacrifices for Him. 2, when we never fix our eye on any imaginary future point of perfection and say, "Well, when I have arrived there, I will be content." It means that we must not exclude as impossible or impracticable any amount of perfection. Number 3, that we forget the future, live in the present, follow the present grace, and then the grace which will present itself after that, and then the next one, and then the next grace after that, and so on, until God draws us to a nearness with Himself, which it would frighten us now even to picture to ourselves. You see, unless we see the reasonableness of this and really decide to pursue it, it will remain a theory, a fantasy. It was important to present this information to you, because if you haven't not got the theory, you will never have the practice. But the practice depends on you, not on me. It depends on not merely being a loving instinct in the heart, but it must be verified also as an intellectual conviction. One must persuade themselves of it. If not, when temptation comes, they will tremble from head to foot with indecision and end by succumbing to that awful state of spiritual mediocrity. You might ask, though, dear listener, what kind of attitude can facilitate our efforts to be generous in all things? Give us concrete ways and examples, man. I will then. Firstly, let me say, we must accustom ourselves to true views about the gospel. True views. Not the ice creams and lollipops version. The true views. Namely, that all through it, we are presented with a religion of suffering, of mortification, of self-sacrifice, of consuming love, of self-forgetting zeal, of self-crucifying union. In a word, the gospel presents to us the religion of the cross and the crucified. The crucified Jesus, who is our model, our divine exemplar. Second, we must let the mysteries of his sacred humanity imprint themselves on our spirits. Thus the importance to meditate on the gospel, to be penetrated with the secret of his infancy, of all the years of his hidden life, of his 3 years ministry, of his week's passion, of his 40 days of risen life. And then the questions will keep coming. Where is there any self? Is it not all sacrifice? Is it not all unreserved generosity for the glory of his Father and the salvation of the perishing souls of men? You know the answer. You remember the history. Look at Jesus. What do you see? Nothing is held back. Head, hands, feet, eyes, mouth, back, heart, all have their own torture. His blood is shed over the olive roots of Gethsemane, into the knotted lashes in the praetorium of the Romans, on the pavement of Jerusalem's Via Crucis, and on the holy wood of the infamous cross. And it is shed until the empty heart has not another drop to give. You see, brothers, we must compare all this with our own mean reserve and half-heartedness. Yes, meanness and half-heartedness towards God, towards our neighbour, towards ourselves. Towards God, what scanty prayers, what careless examinations of conscience, what heartless confessions, what cold communions, what human respect, what grievous sins. Alas, it's the truth. Towards our neighbour, how selfish in action, how unkind in word, how censorious in thought. God help us. Towards ourselves, hey, so indulgent, so conceited, so pampering of our body, so inflated in our ego, so selfish with our will, so consistently spineless, so in need of a truly generous spirit. But fear not, dear friends, only turn to the blessed and immaculate Queen, asking her the grace, not only to desire to be perfect as the Heavenly Father is, but also to have the means to be generous in the pursuit of it. So help us God.